All right. Hopefully I went live on the correct channel. That would be a little bit awkward if I didn't. I believe we are good to go. I think I'm just going to start calling the weekly stream the NPC update because I think it's kind of funny. Start calling the weekly... Oh, yeah, we get to hear myself twice. Lovely. Everybody definitely likes listening to me the first time, so let's listen to me twice. All right. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. A lot of news stretching across the board here. A lot of contradicting reports, a lot of conflicting evidence, a lot of lies and manipulation that has been spewed over the past, probably 10 years, right? But anyway, in terms of recent reports and stuff and information that has been coming out, Public Safety Minister David McGuinty on Foreign Interference Report got a little CTV question period clip here to go through. And then we got some other things to point out as we continue down the line here, but we're going to obviously start off with this. The big news of the day, or at least over the past 24 hours. I remember Trudeau was trying to hammer this point, and there's a clip I'm going to show after this, but he was trying to hammer the point that the Conservatives had numerous MPs in their caucus that were involved in foreign interference, and he tried pushing this for months upon months, begging Pierre Poilievre to get his security clearance. If you watched Question Period late last year, the security clearance questions would have drove you literally crazy because they continued to bring it up over and over again. Bottom line is, apparently there was actually no foreign interference. Or at least that's what we're being told. I don't know if I believe that.
Interference did not impact the outcome of the last two general elections, nor have I seen any evidence to suggest that there are currently so-called traitors in Parliament. While I saw evidence of some concerning behavior, the evidence does not show any MPs plotting with foreign states against Canada's interest.
That's Justice.
That's a really interesting thing to say. While we might have seen some things that could be concerning, we didn't really see much of anything involved in actual foreign interference. But there were some concerning things to look at, some things that we should maybe keep an eye on, but nothing that was directly involved. All right.
Marie-Josée Hogue releasing her final report as Commissioner of the National Inquiry on Foreign Interference. In that clip there, responding to a report released last year from what's called the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, or NSICOP for short. That report stated the committee had seen troubling intelligence that some parliamentarians are, in the words of the intelligence services, quote, semi-winning or winning participants in the efforts of foreign states to interfere in Canadian politics. Justice Hogue also making 51 recommendations to better protect this country against foreign interference, 24 of which she says could be implemented before the next election. Joining me now to talk about this a little bit more is Public Safety Minister David McGuinty. Hi, Minister. Good to have you here in studio. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Vashi.
I wanted to start off on the NSICOP report versus what we heard from Justice Hogue, and particularly because you chaired that committee, and your name was on that report that came out. That report concluded that there was intelligence suggesting that there were basically parliamentarians, former or sitting, who had wittingly engaged in foreign interference. She concludes the opposite, that there is no witting engagement. There are no traitors in Parliament. Who's right?
Well, the first thing I want to say to Madam Justice Hogue is this is an incredible piece of work. This is a really, really good report. A great diagnosis of the challenge of foreign interference and a great series of recommendations for improvement. Look, there's not that much different between the report done by NSICOP. In fact, NSICOP did 3 foreign interference reviews, not 1, and on 2 separate occasions made similar comments. But what she's revealed is she said she's had much more access to more difficult obtained intelligence. So she had more time, more lawyers. Her mandate was different than the work that the review committee at NSICOP does. And another difference is this. At NSICOP, you have 11 parliamentarians. So they're quite steeped in the practice and the art of politics. This was a legal approach to the challenge, and I think taken together, they complement each other. And I think right now it's time for us to move forward to implement much of the change.
And I have questions.
All right, well, that's very interesting, all that, so on and so forth. But time and time again, this man lied straight through his teeth.
I have the names of a number of parliamentarians, former parliamentarians and or candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada who are engaged or at high risk of, or for whom there is clear intelligence around foreign interference.
So, we never got the names, we're never going to get the names, and when it comes down to it, there's so much information that is conflicting, you can't believe anybody at this point. That's really what it feels like. Obviously, Trudeau, the king of lying, the king of manipulation. We've seen nearly 10 years of it.
And I have directed CSIS and others to try and inform the Conservative Party leader to be warned and armed to be able to make decisions that protect the integrity of that party. And the decision by the leader of the Conservative Party to not get those classified briefings means that nobody in his party, not him, nobody in a position of power, knows the names of these individuals and can take appropriate action. It also means nobody's there to stand up for those individuals if the intelligence is shoddy or incomplete or just allegations from a single source. We are ready to question intelligence when it comes towards the Liberal Party members because we need to make sure if you're going to end someone's career, you're doing it in a responsible way.
So clearly the NSICOP reports or whatever files or papers they received were completely different than the ones that the public safety minister here is talking about, and obviously at the very beginning of this video we heard
Interference did not impact the outcome of the last two general elections.
So, like, what is actually happening at the end of the day? We're probably never going to get the list of names, and that's just what it's going to come down to. We're going to be left in the dark on a lot of these different situations here, and that's just it. Really, that's really it. I don't believe a single person when it comes to this. If there were actual people involved, then these names would have been brought to light. They should be brought to light. These are traitors to our country. This is treason. This is literal treason.
Questions about how that change will be implemented, but I guess I am confused on how they might complement each other. And just when you made that comment about there being kind of politics involved, are you intimating that part of the conclusion reached by NSICOP was political in nature?
No, I think that there's just simply an experience that comes to bear when you're a group of parliamentarians deliberating about different fact scenarios and intelligence that's given to you. She's had the benefit of perhaps additional information, as she says in her own review, information that was not brought to our attention at the time. But I don't think there's much daylight here at all between the two reviews. I think if you look at the bulk of the text, 90% of it is very similar, and the recommendations tend to be very overlapping.
I would argue that the daylight is that there are people who read your report and your committee's report and concluded there were traitors sitting in Parliament, and that prospect existed for such a long time that there were MPs calling on the government.
Hold on, this is just a simple yes or no. There is no rebranding this or reworking this to think of it in a different way to try and reason with it or something like that. It's literally, was there interference or not? You both read apparently the same report for the most part. So what did you interpret differently that another individual thought of? Like, what is going on here? How has the translation been lost across the board here? How does one person go, yeah, there's literally foreign interference so deep within our parliament that we need to rework our parliament, and then we have another person going, well, there may have been some concerning things, but it was nothing to the level of foreign interference that I think is concerning enough to take action. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? It's literally a yes or no question. There's no other word. Like, what are we doing here? It literally is all BS. It is stalling tactics. That's what it feels like. Something they've been doing for the past half a year, over a year now, however long this foreign interference case has been going on for. It's just stall tactics. They know exactly what's happening for the most part. They have these names that if they don't have them, they're literally lying to the public. They're creating a narrative that just doesn't exist, and it's all for politics to fit their agenda at the end of the day. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, it really is just a simple yes or no. And if it is a yes, who are the individuals? Release their names and get their asses out of here.
Government to release names, to name names, versus hers, which is conclusive that there are not traitors in Parliament. I don't get how that's complementary.
The word traitor never appeared in any NSICOP review.
But she debunks the idea even that there are semi-witting or witting people. She says if they are involved in that, based on further evidence that she was able to review and the underlying evidence that you based your conclusions on, that she did not arrive at that conclusion.
Yeah. I don't know if she went that far. I think she went as far as saying that there was behavior which was questionable. I think in that sense, she's reaffirming a lot of the findings of the NSICOP review, but there is...
So if there's questionable things found in the report, don't you think you would maybe take the necessary steps to, I don't know, fix that or right the wrongs that have been happening? No, there's some concerning stuff. We read over it briefly, but we're just gonna continue on as if nothing's happening, as if maybe there is some shady stuff happening, but nothing too maybe a couple concerning things, but nothing too bad, guys. Like, I don't know, just a couple foreign agents here and there.
There's no indication at all. There never was an indication of the word treasonous or treason or traitors never appeared in any works. I think these were remarks made by an intemperate politician at an intemperate and maybe an inappropriate moment.
Here's what the report said. Unfortunately, the committee has also seen troubling intelligence that some parliamentarians are, in the words of intelligence services, semi-witting or witting participants in the efforts of foreign states to interfere in our politics. That doesn't say traitor, but it says a whole lot that she didn't.
Well, she said there was evidence of very concerning behavior. I don't see a lot of difference between what we're saying, what we said at the time, what she's saying now. And again, she's had the benefit of a different kind of process, maybe a dozen lawyers, hundreds of witnesses, much more time, more resources. But I think you would find if you went back to the NSICOP members of the committee and asked them how they felt, I think they feel that they made a major contribution. Here's the good news.
But did you jump the gun? To be fair, do you think you put too much? Do you think that part of the report essentially, like, do you still stand by it? Or should it have been maybe more cautious?
No, absolutely. And in fact, the same language was used in the 2019 Foreign Interference Review, verbatim. Several years later, it was lifted and brought forward. So nobody raised that in 2019, 2020, 2021, or 22, 2023. So we have a situation now where I think we have a go-forward strategy and good recommendations for improvement. That's what I really am focusing on.
Let's talk about that then, because the Justice says 24 of 51 can be implemented before the next election. Do you agree?
I'm not sure which 24 she's referring to, having just received the report a few hours ago. It's 850 pages. My officials are poring over it now. Many of the recommendations are directed at public safety and the agencies that we represent. We're going to be looking at that very carefully, see what we can get done. But, so much has happened already, even during her time at the Commission. We're making huge progress in wrestling with this really important issue, which is not just a Canadian issue. It's a global issue.
Okay. They're making huge progress, guys. They've been making a ton of progress. All right, take their word for it, I guess, right? There were some concerning things, but nothing too bad, I guess, right? Yeah, okay, all right. Speaking about concerning things, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh reacting to foreign interference. Listen to a little bit of this, not the full video, but let's take a little listen. I want to thank everybody for joining here right now. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button if you're new. Thank you very much for joining. Let's get it going.
Thanks so much. I'm really honored to be joined here by Peter Julian, my neighbor, my House leader, and also the Member of Parliament for New Westminster Burnaby. Thanks for joining us today. We want to talk about the recent report released by Justice Hogue. We know that foreign interference is something that's very serious, something that Canadians are worried about. We want to defend our democracy. We want to make sure that our democracy is free from foreign interference. We also want to make sure that everyday Canadians can live their lives without the threat or harassment of a foreign government. So we had called for this public inquiry. The Liberals had said no. We were the first political party to call for it, and now we've got the report. What Justice Hogue has highlighted, I think one of the biggest points that she made in her report was the deep concern she has regarding misinformation and disinformation, particularly on social media, and how we do not have tools right now to combat that, and it is rampant. The amount of misinformation that is available is rampant, and that is a serious concern for democracy and for an upcoming election.
Well, actually, there are numerous tools that have been used to combat this. We have things like community noters on X, and now Facebook is following suit with that because the writing has been on the wall that they've been doing sketchy practices and have been manipulating their social media site specifically, removing content, deleting topics that don't fit their agenda or narrative, and now we're starting to see a wave of people wanting authenticity, the truth, and nothing but the truth. Real facts, reality, hitting you in the face. That's what it's coming down to now. And social media, it's perfect for that. If you say something stupid, or if you say something that is misinformation, disinformation, fake news, false this, that, and the fourth, you're gonna get destroyed for it. You're gonna get called out for it on levels that you never have been before. And honestly, this is why the mainstream media has lost all credibility, and this is why nobody's really watching them anymore, because they've lied so many times, and they've been caught so many times, and now we have social media to do all of that fact-checking in real time for us. So honestly, Jagmeet, it just sounds like you're out of touch. Sounds like you don't know what you're talking about, which is quite typical for especially the NDP. It's just a joke at the end of the day whenever this guy opens his mouth. You can just simply shut him down with literal facts. It's time to come out of the fantasy land that is the NDP. They're just not going to be a thing anymore. And when he keeps saying stupid shit like this, he wants to, police the internet? Strike down the information that he thinks isn't suitable or fitting to what he wants? Is that what we're going to have? We're going to have that bill get passed, see whatever, so-and-so, that's supposed to protect this, that, and the fourth, but actually has like 25 other things that are hidden within it as well. That's all they really want to do. They just want to police you further than they don't have the control over the internet, and it makes them angry. It makes them mad that they can't shut down narratives they don't like. It's just the truth. It really is.
And so that is a concern that was highlighted by Justice Hogue. I think that concern is also exacerbated by the leader of the Conservative Party's decisions and his actions. Pierre Poilievre has accepted the endorsement of Elon Musk, someone whose platform is also one of the worst actors in a lot of ways around misinformation and disinformation. Coupled with the fact that Pierre Poilievre also wants to defund a public broadcaster, which is a source of real information, journalistic integrity.
Oh, is
really
is it? Is it? How many times have the CBC been caught lying?
highlights a dangerous set of priorities given Justice Hogue's findings of misinformation and the need for fact checks and fact confirmation. What other things that Justice Hogue highlighted, I want to point out, is he said that all leaders, all political leaders, should get security clearance and receive information that is pertinent to their parties or to democracy in general. And that highlights the real concerns that Canadians have raised about Pierre Poilievre, the only leader of a political party that has not received security clearance. And so that was highlighted. And I think finally, Justice Hogue did raise concerns about sitting parliamentarians and questionable or concerning behavior. And I'll highlight, she said, of questionable ethics. And that is something in the context of foreign interference that I'm concerned by. Ultimately, what we want to see is now the recommendations that Justice Hogue has made be implemented. I've instructed my party, my national director and team to follow all of the recommendations as it relates to political parties so that we're doing our part. I encourage other political leaders to do the same. Donc, on a reçu le rapport de
Alrighty, I don't want to listen to him in French, just like I barely want to listen to him in English. All right. We have a Interesting video here. Newcomer truck driver who was texting and driving causes massive crash in Toronto. Should he be deported? Texting and driving blatantly on his phone, and you can probably put 2 and 2 together just based on that video alone. Let's just say he's going full speed, by the way. Doesn't slow down until he just doesn't slow down. Yeah, not good. Not good. This guy should be facing some serious stuff. I honestly hope the people that are in front of this truck are okay. Absolutely brutal. But this leads me into kind of part 2 here of everything. I covered this a few months ago, and I want to cover it again. Hidden cameras reveal how unqualified truckers are getting on our roads. Take a listen.
Dangerous loads they haul cause more damage and injury. Makes us wonder.
I probably have to be careful here because this is more like a documentary than a news report, but we'll skip right to the meat and potatoes. Right here.
The training they need.
Is this truck driving school?
It starts in training yards like this one.
Yeah, I'm looking to get my license.
We come with hidden cameras after hearing we might be offered some shortcuts.
When can I start? Today?
Proper training can cost more than $10,000, but here they're charging half that.
Yeah, so there you go. When can you start? Today. Right now, you have 0 experience. We'll get you behind one of the largest vehicles you can drive down any street, any given area in a city, on a highway. When can you start? Oh, you have no in-class training, no experience of even driving like a 5-ton pick or a 5-ton truck, right? Like something like that, which you typically don't need training for. You just need a G license to drive. Oh, you don't even have that experience? Well, all right, we'll get you behind a DZ, an AZ to DZ.
4,500.
4,500?
Yeah, with the 2 tries.
In 4,000, 2-time road test is included.
4,500. For everything.
These schools offer a program called MELT, Mandatory Entry-Level Training. Ontario is the first in North America to set it up. Anyone who wants to drive a tractor-trailer has to take at least 103.5 hours of training.
103.5 hours of training. So at least over 100 hours of training.
Before they can take a road test.
And that's just before they could take a road test. That is literally just for the test. Just for the test alone, and they're saying, you have 0 hours of experience, get your ass in that truck. Day 1, baby. We'll send you down the QEW.
But we're hearing we may not need that many hours.
103 hours completed, it does not matter you are completed or not. Maybe you will ready in 90 hours, does not matter.
A third of the time is supposed to be spent in a separate classroom learning theory. Not here.
No in class. No need for in the class.
Okay.
No theory, nothing. No.
Before
No in class, guys. You don't need your 103 hours to drive one of these massive trucks. You can just get behind the wheel. What a wild thing to see there. And when you put 2 and 2 together with the video we watched before, the guy texting and driving, yeah, he's on his phone. He's a fucking idiot. But you also got to think now, how much training did that guy actually get? If they have these, I don't know what you want to call it, loophole training facilities, workaround training facilities that you don't need your 100 hours, just get behind the wheel. That's scary. That's pretty fucking terrifying, if you ask me. Don't get me wrong, I hate driving beside big trucks, no matter who it is, but now I'm gonna be keeping a fucking extra eye out. I don't know about you guys. Driving on the highway beside one of those truck drivers, I'm gonna be fucking switching lanes as quickly as I can. Good lord. Another thing going on here, breaking. Pierre Poilievre calls for mass deportations of extremists taking over Canada. We must deport from our country any temporary resident that is on permit or a visa that is carrying out violence or hate crimes on our soil.
We must deport from our country any temporary resident that is here on a permit or a visa that is carrying out violence or hate crimes on our soil.
Well, if only that were something we could actually do here. Our country we're not the States. I don't think that's probably ever going to happen no matter who's in charge. So we can only hope, but I don't think so. I just don't believe it. And kind of one of the last things, and then I'll see what else is popping up. We got a lot of CPAC stuff happening within the last, I don't know, 20 to 40 minutes here, so we'll go over that as well. But we have a Rebel News reporter here confronting Trudeau's replacement, Mark Carney. See how he reacts when I call him out on his lies about being an outsider, and his answer on shutting down Alberta's oil sector.
Mr. Carney, Mr. Carney, sorry. Mr. Carney, why are you lying to Canadians saying that you are not
He's hanging out with the Chihuahua.
insider when you're the ultimate insider? Why are you lying to Canadians?
Je suis jamais un député, madame. Alors,
You are the special advisor to Trudeau.
pourquoi tu parles anglais chez Ménégal?
Because we are an English news outlet, and you know it. But why are you lying to Canadians saying that you're an outsider?
C'est bon ici.
When you return as a prime minister, are you going to cut ties with the World Economic Forum?
J'en ai pas. J'en ai pas.
You have been invited multiple times. Mr. Carney, don't touch me. Mr. Carney, what are your thoughts on the fact?
My God, this is just a fucking cesspool. But if we go to right about here, she asks, do you have any ties to the World Economic Forum?
When you return as a prime minister, are you going to cut ties with the World Economic Forum?
J'en ai pas.
He says, I don't have any. Oh, you don't have any ties. Oh, okay. Let's go to the World Economic Forum page itself. Let's see if I have a good view for that. I guess that one will work. Q&A with Mark Carney in 2021. Mark Carney, agenda contributor to the WEF. UN Climate Envoy Mark Carney. Davos 2021, World Economic Forum in the description here, Mark Carney. If we go to... Now, this is the page as it is right now. This is the 2024 World Economic Forum page. He's actually not listed. He is typically listed in the Board of Trustees, but he's not listed there anymore. But if we go to the Wayback Machine, if you know what this is, I'll try to show it briefly here. It has the March 2017 Wayback Machine. Can I move the page again, please? Thank you. You know what the Wayback Machine is, and you know how that works. Very important to, I guess you just saw my background, you saw George Lucas, but very important to the Internet Archives. Is essentially what I'm getting at. If we scroll down to the Board of Trustees, 2017. Oh, look who's there. Mark Carney. 2018. Look who's there. Oh, Mark Carney. 2019. August 28th, 2019. Oh. Who's that? Oh, well, that would be Mark Carney. 2020. The page is a little messed up, but oh, would you take a look at that? It's Mark Carney. Just to prove this is the Wayback Machine, I click on Mark Carney and it doesn't work, but he's there, he's listed. 2021. Where is he? Oh, Chrystia Freeland. Oh, Al Gore. We go to 2022. I thought he didn't have any ties to the Chrystia Oh. We go to 2023, and he's finally been removed, but Chrystia Freeland still remains. And like I said, if we go to, I thought it said Mark Schneider. We go to 2024, the most recent. I'll give it a little refresh just to prove that this is the actual page and not the Wayback Machine. Yeah, he's no longer listed there, but he was there for a very long time. Very, very long time, actually. So, yeah. I don't know about that one.
Thing that you're an outsider. When you return as a prime minister, are you going to cut ties with the World Economic Forum?
J'en ai pas.
Yeah, so he might not have any ties to them, I guess, anymore. But the whole point being, like, I don't care which side you're on. You shouldn't have any ties to it at all. Get your ass out of there. It is doing anybody any favors. All right. God, there is really not too much going on here. We could listen to everybody's fucking favorite, Doug Ford. Good old Dougie.
Good morning, everyone.
He appears to be launching a campaign. This is for he's calling an early election. I guess we can watch this. Let's see what he has to say.
Thank you for coming out here in beautiful Windsor today. I'd like to say a special thank you to all our local Windsor building trades friends who are here today, incredible union partners who have joined us this morning. I'd also like big round of applause. They built this province, the proud workers who've built this city. And I'd like to thank our incredible Ontario PC team here, Tony Francis, Andrew Dowie, and Anthony Liardi, who are incredible champions for this Windsor region. They're delivering in a big way for this community.
All right, that's fantastic. I just want to hear the campaign.
The trade skilled stand up for workers, to stand up for our province, the Premier of our province, and the next Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford.
Just an FYI, I'm from Ontario, so this is going to play directly into the province. And if the Liberals get back in, I don't know why, for some reason here in Ontario, they seem to be gaining some steam. Not saying Doug Ford. Doug Ford is like, he's just a liberal in conservative clothing, realistically. But, I mean, Bonnie Crombie is just not it, Chief. Not it in any way, shape, or form. And after what Wynne did, I think I'll pass.
Boy, well, first of all, thank you very much, and I just want to thank you, David, first of all, for that introduction, but the work that you've been doing, making sure we work with our great partners in the trades and building more skilled workers around the province, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for helping out build our province, build our country, and I'll make sure you're always protected. I want to welcome my Ontario PC candidates. Andrew Dowie, your PC candidate for Windsor-Tecumseh. They're all champs, these guys. Anthony Liardi, your PC candidate for Essex. And Tony Francis, your PC candidate for Windsor West. And I can't wait to welcome Tony to Queen's Park as part of our Ontario PC team. Yesterday, I met with Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, who accepted my request to dissolve the legislature and call an election to be held on February 27th. I couldn't imagine a better place to start our campaign than right here in Windsor. And I couldn't imagine a better partner to start our campaign with than with the people of Windsor. And Mayor Dilkens wanted to be here today, but unfortunately he had a little family emergency, and we all know family comes first. So I just wish you all the best, Mayor, and I'll be coming back here again. But he's an absolute champion for this city and for his people, and I thank him for his support. In these uncertain times, I'm asking the people of Ontario for their trust. I'm asking the people for a strong, stable, 4-year mandate to do whatever it takes to protect Ontario. The people of our province, like people across Canada, are facing unprecedented challenge. President Trump is threatening steep and sweeping tariffs that will devastate Canada's economy.
Which are apparently going to still be going through. They're going through with the tariffs on February 1st. That's what it sounds like for the most part. Fuck it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like the former administration, they absolutely obliterated their own country. And instead of Trump pointing fingers at them and the cabinet within and the people that work there, he's pointing fingers at us, which I'm not really the biggest fan of. I mean, yeah, I'm sure our border has its issues here and there, but I said it time and time again, we're nowhere fucking near as bad as Mexico. Not even close. It's two completely different levels here that we're talking about when it comes to things coming through the border. And I actually covered recently, last week, there was millions upon millions of dollars of drugs that came up through Mexico into the States and managed to make its way all the way into Canada. So whose fucking fault is that? It's not ours, right? It's not our fault that you guys can't fix your own goddamn borders to save your lives. You have a bunch of dumbasses running your country over there in the States for the past 4 years, absolutely obliterated everything that is known to be the United States. You're sitting here pointing fucking fingers at us. I think that's absolutely wild, but that's just my take on it. It's gonna be brutal. Like, we're supposed to be strong partners, a very strong alliance, and we're butting heads right now. We're going at each other's throats over resources, and this trade war is kind of fucking retarded, in my opinion. Can't we just work together? I don't know. Kind of ridiculous.
On February 1st, and I mean it when I say devastate. Hundreds of thousands of Ontario jobs are at risk, and not just factory workers, service workers, the great construction workers here, retail workers, everyday hard-working people in offices and factories across Ontario. When workers lose their jobs, entire communities feel pain. Bills go unpaid, local businesses lose customers, families worry about their future. And let's be clear, this isn't just about tariffs. The president has threatened economic force. He's even floated the unthinkable, taking over Canadian territory. Let me say this loud and clear, Canada is not for sale. Not to President Trump, not to anyone. The sad fact is, there is no reason for President Trump to be doing this. Canada and the United States are strongest when we work together. Before I entered politics, I ran a business that had employees on both sides of the border. I've seen it firsthand. If you ask thousands of Canadian and American business owners, or the millions of Canadian and American workers that depend on cross-border trade, they will tell you that Canada, U.S. trade is one of the great wins in the history of the world. More jobs and bigger paychecks for workers on both sides of the border. More profits for businesses on both sides of the border. Lower prices for consumers on both sides of the border. More revenue for governments on both sides of the border. I wish Canada was not in this position. I wish we were working together to make Canada and the United States the richest, most successful, safest, most secure two countries on the planet. But nobody has ever solved the problem by wishing it away. We have to play the hand we're dealt. To protect Ontario and Canada, we need a strong leadership that is prepared to do whatever lies ahead. Despite the chaos we now see in Ottawa, I made it very clear that our government will rise above politics and partisanship to work with any Prime Minister to keep Ontario and Canada safe. From factory floors to boardrooms, from Main Street, Ontario to American cable news. I've gone and will continue to go anywhere and everywhere to make the case for Ontario, for Canada, and for America to work together once again. I continue to hope that cooler heads will prevail, that the Trump administration will pull back from these tariffs. But I'm also a realist. We have to prepare for the worst. We're entertaining a period of unprecedented economic risk and lengthy negotiations against President Trump and with the federal government and other provinces. During this time, the government will need to move fast. Responding to the challenge will demand enormous action that was never considered as part of our current mandate. We'll redouble our efforts to build Ontario's economy. We will do whatever it takes to protect workers and their livelihoods. We will invest tens of billions of dollars in new spending to keep people working. We will work with unions and businesses to retain and reskill our hardest hit workers. And as we do, we need to do everything possible to keep our economy competitive. We'll keep up the fight against the job-killing Liberal carbon tax, and we're urging the federal government to join us in cutting red tape and streamlining approvals to get big things built faster. All of this will require unplanned action with long-term consequences, which is why the people of Ontario deserve to have their voices heard. As taxpayers, this is your money. This is your province and your future. You deserve a say. As Premier, my mandate can only come from the people, not from other politicians. And the bigger the mandate I receive from you, the better we'll be able to protect our province. Because this is a game to the president. He seeks to divide and conquer, whether he imposes tariffs next week, next month, or waits another year or more. Trump's threats are not going away. At a time when the federal government has left Canada drifting, exposed, and vulnerable, President Trump will use every day he's in office to exploit any weakness he can find. To protect Ontario, we need a mandate that will outlive and outlast the Trump administration. While I cannot control Ottawa, there will be no weakness in Ontario.
Oh man, I fucking have no clue. Like this guy, he could sit there saying what he wants, but at the end of the day, the tariffs are gonna come, and what? You're just gonna continue to butt heads. Things are gonna get worse. Doug Ford, has he even gone to talk with Trump? Like, I think Danielle Smith was the only one, at least that I have recollection of. Just seems like a big pissing contest at the end of the day. Instead of sitting at a table, negotiating things, they're holding press conferences like this in the middle of fucking wherever they are and launching attacks back and forth at each other. This just comes off as weak, childish, just pussy behavior, honestly. Like, oh, you did something to me, so therefore I'm just gonna do it 10 times, or whatever, tenfold back. No, you go, you talk to the person, you sit down, you confront them, you speak, you work out the differences, you do what is best in the interests of everybody. You don't just sit there doing whatever the fuck this is while your sheep clap behind you, saying, wow, Dougie, you're doing a great job, buddy. You did a fantastic job putting beer in Costco's and in corner stores, something that should have been done fucking decades ago. But here we go. Yep, everybody clap.
These were the facts that weighed on me when I considered calling this election. With the trust and the support of Ontario workers, I will give this fight everything I've got. In times of trouble, Team Ontario will once again answer the call. We'll continue to make the case to our American allies that we're so much stronger together. We'll also be ready to do whatever is necessary to stand up for and protect Ontario. Our workers, businesses, communities, make no mistake, Ontario won't start a fight with the U.S., but you better believe we'll be ready to win one. To the people of Ontario, let me close by saying this. You know me and the kind of leader I am. You may not always agree with me, and that's okay, but my record is clear. When times are tough, I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe. I will work with anyone, and I will stand up to anyone in order to protect our province and our people. I'm prepared to do whatever is necessary and whatever it takes to protect our jobs, businesses, families, and communities. That's why on February 27th, I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking you for a stronger mandate by electing your local Ontario PC candidates. The stronger the mandate, the better. And together, we will protect Ontario. Thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
We will now open the floor for questions from the media. Please come to the mic
Hell yeah, here we go.
and state your name and outlet. Just a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up. First question.
Thank you, Grace. Mark McAllister from City News.
Hi, Mark.
You have spent tens of millions of dollars in government money at this point. You've made multiple American media appearances, and yet you haven't yet taken these tariffs off the table at this point. What makes voters believe that you can protect Ontario if you haven't at this point?
Well, these tariffs are coming. They haven't come yet, Mark, and thank you for that question. I think I've proven to the people in Ontario I'll do whatever it takes to protect them, to protect the workers, to protect communities, protect businesses. And that's exactly what we're going to do. It may take tens of billions of dollars to do that. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And we'll fight these tariffs with every tool in our toolbox.
This border behind you, this bridge.
He always talks about this toolbox he has with all these. I got a lot of tools in my toolbox. So we're like, so what are they then? What fucking steps are you gonna take? What are you gonna do? What are these tools that you claim to have that will help us in this situation? Come on, you can't just keep saying that. It's a bit of a cop-out. It's a bit of I don't really know, but don't worry, we have something there. We'll figure it out when the time comes. That's what it sounds like. We'll wait for the bullshit to roll in. We'll wait for all the chaos to start, and then we'll start considering necessary steps to combat it.
Bridge behind you is federal jurisdiction. Shouldn't voters in this province be watching what's happening in Ottawa right now and not necessarily this election you called?
Well, I think it affects every single province, every single territory from coast to coast to coast. We all have to work together. Municipalities, the provinces, the territories, and the federal government. And that's exactly what we plan on doing. I'll be getting on a call very shortly, right after this press conference, to talk to all 13 premiers and the Prime Minister and their team to look at the retaliatory tariffs that we're looking at. But I can tell you one thing, we will do whatever it takes to protect the people of Ontario.
So, secure the border? He just said he was willing to spend billions and billions of dollars to fight these tariffs. Why don't you just spend billions and billions of dollars on the border? I know throwing money at things doesn't necessarily fix it, but it's just a simple thing. You want to protect Ontario, just fix the border. It's not hard.
Good morning, Rob Ferguson, Toronto Star.
Hi, Rob.
Good morning. You boasted Friday and again today that you're the best candidate to protect Ontario from Trump tariffs, but the Financial Accountability Office revealed Monday that your convenience store beer deal is costing several more times than you promised, into the hundreds of millions. Why should voters believe you're better than Trump at the art of the deal?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that question, Rob. You know, that's what the people want. We're the only jurisdiction in the world that didn't have it. This is about convenience. This is about creating tens of thousands of jobs in convenience stores and retail stores. And they don't put down how many jobs it will create. They don't put down the close to $1 billion of economic growth that we're going to see when we do this. I don't believe in big U.S. corporations having a monopoly on our beer. I believe the people should have a choice in the convenience. If they want to grab a beer at a grocery store while they're grabbing a steak, God bless them. Good for them. But we're going to be like every single other jurisdiction in the world, that adults can go in and actually buy beer and wine in the convenience or local retailer.
But what are people to make of that deal? It cost, like I said, like 4 times more, like almost 800 million more, or 600 million more than you said it would. That's like $600 million.
Rob, let me
that's
tell you.
a lot of money.
I was protecting the beer store workers, but what they aren't saying is the hundreds of millions of dollars in economic development that it is going to create. More jobs, more opportunities, convenience for people. That's what we're doing, and so far, it seems to be working out extremely well, talking to the convenience store owners and the retailers.
Good morning, it's Jessica from the Trillium.
Hi, Jessica.
I actually don't understand how it costs us over $600 million to have beer be transported to. I don't get how that correlates at all. How are we spending more to have alcohol in more places? Because they would still have to buy from the distributors, which I would assume are probably still directly connected with the government.
Jessica?
Like you need, in order to sell alcohol, you need to have that license, which is given to you by the government. You know what? Moving on.
So we know that you've been trying to get a meeting with President Trump. Have you been able to do that yet?
Not yet. And we're going to be going down there on the 11th and 12th of February to meet the senators and congresspeople and other stakeholders in the U.S. Then I'm going to go back down on the 20th for the governor's meeting as well. And I've talked to governors and congresspeople and senators every single day. But do you know what they say? No matter if they're Republican or Democrat, they don't agree with these tariffs. When I talk to the
no shit, nobody agrees with the tariffs.
Endless amount of people I know in the U.S., they love Canada. They love Canada. They don't agree with these tariffs. They want to work collaboratively with us because I'll tell you, 9 million Americans wake up every single morning to produce products for Ontario alone. Those 9 million people may not have a job when these tariffs come in. It's going to be painful on both sides, but we'll get through this. We'll make sure that we use every tool in our toolbox to protect.
There he goes. He's talking about the toolbox. Well, why don't you use the tool called the aircraft, and you get inside the aircraft and you fly down to Mar-a-Lago, and then you use another tool called your mouth and you talk to him about these issues at hand instead of being an absolute spineless coward standing at the, what is it? Somebody said earlier, the Detroit Bridge or Detroit, wherever this is. Like, use your brain. Come on. If they're supposed to be our closest ally, then let's work together. Yes, the tariffs aren't good for literally anybody. But at the end of the day, sitting there going, well, we're going to receive these tariffs anyway, and now we're just going to fucking butt heads with them the entire time. We're not going to try to have any sort of sit-down talk. Like Danielle Smith, she's the only one who actually went and spoke with him in person. She has more metaphorical balls than Doug Ford has.
Ontario families, protect Ontario workers, businesses, and communities.
To follow up on that, you said it would be a disaster if the other party leaders sit down across the table from President Trump, but what makes you think you'll have the chance to, and did he meet with you during his first administration?
No, I never met with him in the first administration. I just feel very simply, we have a stronger team, we have a brighter team, we have stronger leadership, and we'll sit down with the representatives, and if we have an opportunity to sit down with President Trump, we'll do that. And we'll lay it on the table.
Then fucking do it. Stop delaying it. Just go and do it. Just go and do it, Doug. Just do it. I'm sure they'd have no issue inviting you to Mar-a-Lago. Trump probably fucking loves having people go to Mar-a-Lago. He probably loves talking about his beautiful compound of Mar-a-Lago, right? That's what he does. He most likely does. A lot of people tell me I have a very beautiful place. But look, at the end of the day, you just need to go talk to the guy. You're not doing anybody any favors by holding these press conferences. This is 30 minutes of wasted time. This is 30 minutes you could have spent on a plane going to Mar-a-Lago. or Florida or wherever. Have Trump come out to Canada. Fuck, whatever. Literally anything. Just go talk to the goddamn guy.
That we're so much stronger together. We're stronger when they need our critical minerals. They're stronger when they use our crude oil. They're stronger when they use our aluminum, our high-grade nickel, our potash, our uranium. That's what I'm going to tell them. And we want to ship them more. And just to keep in mind, right across this bridge, on the other side, we keep 1.5 million homes in New York and Michigan and Minnesota lit up. I want to send them more power, more electricity.
Morning, Doug. Liam Casey with the Canadian Press.
Hi, William.
The FAO says it's costing the province more than $600 million to get beer and wine into corner stores a year.
Okay, I need these reporters to explain how, though. They can't just come up with this random number.
Earlier than you planned. Do you regret any of that now, considering we would have $600 million more in our back pockets to deal with these tariffs?
What I'm happy about are convenience stores are making a little more money. They're hiring more people. Retailers are hiring more people. The convenience for someone to go in and buy some groceries and actually be like everyone else in the world and maybe pick up a bottle of wine or a case of beer. That's the convenience right there. And we're going to do everything we can, make sure that we're competitive. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're making ourselves more competitive. And we want to get the beer the same price as Quebec. We've done this on purpose to make sure that we lower the cost of beer and wine and liquor in the LCBO and beer and wine.
That's actually something I did notice. I went to go pick up a couple beers just for the weekend, and they were cheaper. I was a little bit surprised. Just a little bit, not fully surprised, but I was like, oh, I'm paying a little bit less. It's not like a huge deduction. It's not anything to go fucking screaming to the moon and back about, but I was a little bit surprised, to say the very least.
And the retailers, that's what we're doing.
The OMA says this morning there are 2,600 vacant physician positions across the province and that there's been virtually no improvement since a year ago. What does that say about your progress on healthcare?
I'm sorry, 2,600, say that again?
2,600 vacant doctor positions across the province.
Well, I'm not too sure if you missed the announcement the other day that we're putting in $1.8 billion with a plan to connect every single person to a family doc, with the leadership of my minister Sylvia Jones and Dr. Jane Philpott, which is well renowned in healthcare right across the country. But let me tell you what we are doing in healthcare. When we came into office, healthcare was an absolute disaster. We have created the positions for 100,000 new nurses, 30,000 more nurses that are in colleges and universities that are getting their education paid for if they work in needed areas. We've registered more than 15,000 doctors. We've had more medical schools that in Brampton, there hasn't been a medical school in 100 years. We've added more medical seats as the Liberals reduced seats, fired nurses. We're hiring tens of thousands of nurses. We're hiring more doctors every single day. As I said, 15,000 more doctors. Windsor, right here in Windsor, they're getting a brand new hospital. We're spending over $50 billion on building 50 sites right across our province. We're putting more and more money. Matter of fact, we're putting $33 billion more in healthcare funding than any other government in the history of Ontario. That's what we're doing for healthcare.
Hi there, Mr. Ford. It's Chris Ensing with CBC News here.
Hi, Chris.
I got a question here. With tariffs supposedly coming on Saturday, what's the first step in this economic action plan that your cabinet discussed yesterday? How quickly will that be implemented?
Well, first of all, let's see the tariffs come. And after our conversation with the Premier...
Let's see the tariffs come! No, you stupid idiot! Jesus Christ! Let's see the country burn a little bit more before we take any action. This is literally the same thought process that Trudeau had with Jasper. They were told numerous times to clear out the brush, to do controlled burns, to whatever, right? Remove the dead trees. Numerous times they were told. And instead of doing it, they just waited for the entire fucking forest to burn. Oh, now we're going to take the necessary actions. It's the exact same thing. We're going to wait for all of Canada to burn before we do anything about this tariff threat, which, by the way, it's going to be in like 2 days, 3 days, right? So let's just wait for it to come. One more time for the people in the back.
Step in this economic action plan that your cabinet discussed yesterday, how quickly will that be implemented?
Well, first of all, let's see the tariffs come. And after our conversation with the premiers and the prime minister, we're going to put retaliatory tariffs on right away. But we have a...
We're going to tariff the tariffs. Oh my fucking God. My brain is melting. My brain is melting right now, guys. If you're still here, you're a trooper. You're fucking digging through the trenches right now with me getting through this, because my God, this is a bit of a slog.
A strong plan to spend tens of billions of dollars. And until I see what areas and what sectors are affected, I can't just come up with an area that might not be affected. But once it comes, you'll hear loud and clear on how we're going to support the people of Ontario.
The last election, there was a lot of focus on housing. Here in the City Hall, people are fighting developments they believe make areas unsafe, but they meet provincial standards.
Yeah.
The mayor has said changes to provincial policies have made it nearly impossible to deny developments that some neighborhoods oppose. What do you say to the homeowners who are fighting these developments at City Hall, who are told they're fighting an uphill battle because of your decisions?
Okay, so which mayor are you talking about?
Here in Windsor, Dilkins. He says it's nearly impossible to oppose some developments because of the tighter restrictions.
Well, let me tell you something. He's one of the greatest mayors, one of my closest allies. We have given more money to Windsor to make sure that they have the infrastructure, the water that they need to build more homes. We've cut red tape and regulations across the province. Rather than taking 5 years to get a permit, now you can speed things up right across the province when it comes to permitting. We're standardizing permitting going across the province. We're putting billions of dollars into infrastructure to help build more homes a lot faster. We have the BFF fund, so if they hit their target, they get a massive check. Up to tens of millions of dollars if they hit the target. And Windsor's doing a great job, and I have 100% support for the mayor and all the infrastructure that we're doing around Windsor. No matter if it's widening Highway 3 or Lausanne Parkway or many other Banwell Parkway, we're investing like Windsor's never seen. Windsor was ignored for 30, 40, 50 years. With our great MPPs here, now Windsor has a voice. And it's amazing the tens of billions of dollars that we're putting into Windsor.
Hi, Maureen with Blackburn News. Hi, Maureen with Blackburn News. Our local school boards are dealing with major deficits, looking at canceling special education programs. What's your plan for education over the next?
You should probably talk to the school union about that one then. I mean, how much money does the school union make annually? And they want to always go after the government for schooling. Oh my God, man. Like the union, they're just hand over fist making millions and millions, probably billions. And it's always the government's fault.
4 years.
Well, going to education, again, I'm going to say that this government has put more into education than any government in the history of Ontario. While the Liberal government was closing 600 schools, we're building hundreds of schools, and many right here in Windsor that they haven't seen ever. We're spending over $16 billion in helping. We have great schools, brand new schools, and supporting our students. That's exactly what we're going to do for education. We're going to continue investing in education. Not to mention, we've hired over 6,000 more educators throughout the province. And we're going to continue investing in education. But you know what? You can't invest in education. You can't invest in healthcare if your economy gets attacked. And that's why we have to protect the people. We have to protect the education system, the healthcare system. The economy pays for everything. When you have a terrible economy, and under the Liberals and NDP, it was very busy at this border because over 300,000 people lost their jobs, and all you saw is taillights heading to the Ambassador Bridge to go open up. Let's look forward close to 7 years later. There's over 850,000 people working today that were not collecting a paycheck 7 years ago. So we've created the environment and the conditions for companies to come here and thrive and prosper and grow. And guess what? When that happens, their employees, their staff thrive, prosper, and grow, because we're investing into the people, we're investing into businesses. And we have to make sure we protect those businesses, protect the people, protect the communities.
Yeah, protect those small businesses, just like you did roughly, 4 years ago?
I guess, buildings and all that investments are great, but what about the programming in them? They're canceling special education programs, leaving these special education children out without the resources they need.
We've invested hundreds of millions of dollars for special education, unlike any other government. We're adding more resources. We're hiring more educators than ever before.
Hi, my name is Pierre. I'm with French CBC, Radio-Canada, and my question is on homelessness. It's an issue here in Windsor. Shelters are close to be full. In London, it's the same, and shelters ask for more resources. Yeah. So, what is your response?
Well, again, I'm going to keep telling you, there's never been more of an investment in homeless folks than what we've invested. We've given tens of millions of dollars into this area to make sure that we get their people shelter, we get them fed. But most importantly, we're spending tens of millions of dollars training them in many different categories, skilled trades, to get them back on their feet, that they can go out there and get a job and have a paycheck and have a rental condo. That's what we're doing. It's all about making sure we support these people and getting them back on their feet.
I swear he gets whiter the more he lies. I don't know. Is this some sort of correlation here?
The best thing we could do for them is get them a good paying job.
This will be the last reporter.
All right, I better make this a good one, eh? Bob Belichico, CTV News. Actually, this one's out of Toronto. I hear that the taxpayer rebate checks are bouncing at RBC. So I don't know if you've heard this, but any reaction to that?
No, I don't think checks RBC is the issue. But when you send out, I think, close to 10 million checks to put back into people's pockets, addresses change. Unfortunately, some people pass away. They still have the information. So if you filed your taxes in 2023, then you're getting a rebate of $200. And if you have kids, they're getting $200, but you have to file your taxes in 2023. We do have a hotline set up for people that if they've moved or if they have an issue, they can call that hotline. But I'm getting endless calls thanking us for giving back the people's money. See, this is the difference between ourselves and the other parties. The other parties, no matter if it's Merritt, Stiles, or Bonnie Crombie, they believe it's their money. They believe that they should hike taxes. We believe differently. The money that we're giving back are the people's money. It's not our money. And we're going to make sure that we continue putting money back into people's pockets, no matter if it was reducing the 10.7 cents on the gas tax, and we're still waiting for the federal government to get rid of that terrible, nasty carbon tax, or making sure that we're getting rid of tolls and putting more money back into people's pockets, making sure we have one fare so someone can hop on the GO train, go into the city of Toronto, hop on the Toronto Transit, hop on the Mississauga Transit on one fare. We believe that when you put money into people's pockets, they're going to stimulate the economy. The worst place...
Wow, that's a crazy concept, isn't it? But you'd see, the thing is, a certain prime minister who just resigned about a month ago, he liked to give out a lot of money to people as well, especially Canadians. And he also liked to raise taxes in order to make that money back. So if we have a government here that just continues to, quote-unquote, give the money back to the people, they're gonna have to find a way to get those funds back some way. And if they think it's through buying goods, yeah, it's a possibility, but when you add up, let's see, like $200 per person, if they filed their taxes, plus if they have children, they will receive $200 each. how much money are you giving away there? Money that we technically don't already have. Right? Because we're in debt fucking trillions of dollars most likely now. And if the last economic update tells us anything, we went $61 billion, $21 billion over the $40 billion guardrail, as Pierre likes to say. So I don't really know where this money's coming from because we don't really have it to begin with. It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it?
You could give your money as the government because they know how to waste it, I'll tell you that. But I'll tell you, I just trust the people. I trust the companies that they're going to reinvest and stir the economy. That's the best thing to do.
All right, my follow-up, I guess since we're at the border, is this more or less a referendum on who's the strongest leader to be able to deal with tariffs, Trump, whoever, whatever's coming at you from the U.S.?
It's twofold here, is leadership, and who do you trust to take care of the people of Ontario and the businesses and the workers when times get tough? And they're going to get tough.
They're going to get tough. Doug, it's already tough. It's the toughest it's ever been. It truly is. The writing's on the wall. The stats are there. The food banks, they prove it alone. Last year, October, November, can't remember exactly which month it was. It was late last year. But thousands of people lining up for rejected produce. Food that didn't make it into the grocery stores because people are starving. It's literally the worst it's ever been.
Trust the other parties that all they believe is tax and spend? Or do you believe in the PC party that's going to support you? We're going to put tens of billions of dollars into the economy, just like we did during the pandemic. There's experience on one side with the PC party and zero experience with the other three parties. I'll tell you who I'm betting on. I'm betting on the PC party. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes today's press conference.
Thank you. This concludes Doug Ford spewing a bunch of stuff. Doug Ford, Premier, making an average salary of... Holy shit, how did that happen? What happened there? Doubled from 2018 to 19. Interesting how that happens. Interesting how that happens. Yeah, he's not struggling at all, really, is he? As a matter of fact, none of the mayors, premiers, or anybody is really struggling. I can pull up another salary cap here of, let's see, the Brampton mayor salary. According to the Brampton Guardian, let's see here. Let's see. Holy shit, Brampton was the highest paid bureaucrat with a salary of $345,000. And taxable benefits totaling almost $40,000. Kind of crazy. These people that dictate the entire country, say what you can and can't do, essentially are supposed to represent you, make more than probably 4 average Canadians combined. It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? They're supposed to be working for the people, yet they're making these very cushy salaries which are paid for by the people. I've said this many times. If I were to ever get into power, I would literally mandate it that everybody in government forfeits 50% of their salary. Now, would that ever actually happen? No, absolutely not. You would have to have some pretty down-to-earth people that actually see people struggling to forfeit half of their salary. When you see the Brampton mayor making upwards of $300,000 a year, why is he making that much? Or why is she or whoever making that? Yeah, you start to really question these things when different mayors are making $250,000 plus a year. When you don't do your job properly, you don't deserve to get paid. You deserve to be fired. And when you're making $250,000 a year, maybe even $500,000 a year, you probably don't deserve to be making that much when the condition of the country is in where it is right now. Things are pretty brutal, and they seem to possibly only getting worse when we have people like Doug Ford saying we're just going to wait for the tariffs to launch and then we'll retaliate with our own tariffs. Tariffing the tariffs, guys. You can't make this shit up. You honestly can't make this shit up. All right. That is going to do it for today's stream, show, broadcast, whatever you want to call it. Thank you all for joining today. An interesting way to end off the little show here with Doug Ford looking like an angel in the light. That camera was getting pretty bad at sometimes, man. When he was spewing some of those little bullshit stories, the camera just kept getting brighter and brighter, and it was kind of funny. All right, guys, let's get to bring it to a close, though. Thank you all for joining. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Weekly streams at least every Wednesday for an hour or beyond, depending on what is happening. We are still currently waiting for Parliament to continue. If it even continues, March 24th will be the first question period of the year. There's been a lot of rumors going around that we might have a further proroguing of Parliament. I don't know, though. Only time will tell, much like with Doug Ford and the tariffs. We'll only react when the time comes. All right, guys, I keep rambling. I'm going to end it now. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day or night. Adios. Bye-bye.